Well, this is very ironic because earlier in the day I was in my group text with me and my guys I do the podcast with, and we were talking about how this is one of the most boring college football weekends of the season. I mean, essentially nothing had happened. There were no real good games, and boy, did we turn out to be wrong on that one, because what a game that we just saw between LSU and Florida. So for those of you that might not have checked the score, yeah, I hope if you're a Florida fan, you're not watching this video because you're probably too busy crying and getting over your playoff hopes being completely shot, because the LSU Tigers completely shocked not only the Florida Gators, but shocked the entire country by going into Gainesville and knocking off the number 6 ranked team in the country, 37-34, thanks to a 57-yard field goal in the final minute of the game. So there is a lot to take away from this game. First off, what an incredible game. I mean, LSU, this is a team, I don't have the number in front of me, but they were down 20, 30 players, something like that. They were missing a lot of players this game. Essentially, the entire team is injured or they've opted out of the season, so there is no one left on this LSU Tigers team. They, implemented their own bowl ban this year, so they're not even going to be in the bowl game this year. They have nothing to play for at this point. So LSU, they're entering this game, nothing to play for. Florida, they're still going to the SEC title game, but they are fighting for a playoff spot, so they had everything to lose, and LSU just came in and knocked off the number 6 team in the country on the road. And this has a bunch of playoff implications in it. I mean, we're going to get to that in the video. But first off, LSU, Max Johnson, starting quarterback for LSU, freshman, made his first career start. I mean, I'm trying to think of a better, opening start from a quarterback we've seen in recent memory. 239 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, what a debut. He had 52 rushing yards. He did not look like a freshman whatsoever. He did not look like a freshman. This did not look like his first career start. He looked fantastic out there. So LSU, I know you guys lost Joe Burrow. I don't know what your quarterback situation is going to be moving forward in the coming years, but Max Johnson, he looked good tonight. And essentially everyone else on LSU, they did their job tonight, and I gotta have major shout out to Cade York. He knocked down 3 field goals tonight, including that 57-yarder in the fog to give LSU the victory. All right, before we get to the playoff talk, though, let me throw it over to Kyle Trask. Not so good of a game. I mean, he did throw for 474 yards, had 2 passing touchdowns, had 2 rushing touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions, and this is a loss that I think pretty much guarantees Mac Jones the Heisman. I think Mac Jones pretty much won the Heisman tonight. I mean, Mac Jones had a really good game today against Arkansas, but Kyle Trask losing this game to LSU at home, you would assume that it pretty much kills any chances he had of winning the Heisman. So if you're able to get in on some Mac Jones tickets before this weekend's slate of games, congratulations, you're going to be cashing out, because Mac Jones, again, who knows, a lot can happen next week. Maybe Kyle Trask has a great game next week, Mac Jones has a bad game, but I think this performance pretty much guaranteed that Mac Jones is going to be your 2020 Heisman Trophy winner. All right, so let's get to playoff implications right here, because Florida, I every week I post a video going over how all these different teams can still reach the college football playoff, and Florida, out of all the teams that were still technically alive, they had the easiest path. Next week in the SEC Championship against Alabama, beat Alabama, and you're in the playoff. Lose to Alabama, you're out of the playoff. It was very simple. Now, Florida, I don't care if you come out next week and you beat Alabama by 40 points. There is no chance that you're going to be reaching the playoff. You're going to have 2 losses. I get you're going to have an SEC title win, but losing to LSU, a team, as I mentioned, has, I don't even know who they have left on their team at this point, at home, that is not a good loss. Florida, your chances are done. So thinking about now these playoff implications and who it affects, this is going to affect more teams than you would initially think. So now you completely throw Florida out of the mix, okay? Alabama, they're going to be in regardless. I think now this pretty much guarantees Notre Dame a spot, even if they lose, because there was a lot of talk about if Alabama were to lose to Florida and if Notre Dame were to lose to Clemson, would Notre Dame be, the 4th and final team in the playoff? I think Notre Dame pretty much, this guarantees their 4th, or again, it depends on how they perform next week. I don't know if they're going to be 4, 3, 2, wherever they're going to be, but Notre Dame, this guarantees their spot. So Alabama, Notre Dame, those 2 are guaranteed. Clemson now, I mean, I still don't think a 2-loss Clemson team is going to make it in, but if they lose by a field goal to Notre Dame next week, and all of a sudden it's either them or I guess Texas A&M, the committee might go with the 2-loss Clemson team. I get they lost to the same team twice, but if you go into Notre Dame, lose in 2 overtimes, and you lose close, in the ACC title game, this actually might help Clemson and give them a better chance. Now, this actually, I'm still trying to figure out, I was trying to figure this out before the video. I think this hurts Texas A&M. I think this hurts their chances because for Texas A&M, the reason why they were hanging on to the number 5 spot, the reason why the committee wasn't moving them at all, was because they had a very, very impressive win over Florida. And now all of a sudden, that impressive win over Florida, that doesn't look so impressive. A&M's not going to move in the standings at all. They're still going to be the number 5 team in the country. But if all of a sudden now, you're the playoff committee and you're looking at a potential 2-loss Clemson team and a 1-loss, Texas A&M team, where the 1-loss Texas A&M had, they did lose by 30 points to Alabama, and they did beat Florida, who now, again, it doesn't look like that impressive of a win. So this definitely hurts Texas A&M. I don't think this pretty much eliminates them whatsoever. I still think Texas A&M, they have a legitimate chance, but their chances definitely took a hit with this Florida loss. Ohio State, again, they win, they're in, they lose, I think they're out. So the only thing that's interesting in regards to this aspect is Clemson potentially having 2 losses and making it in. And all of a sudden now, let's take a look at maybe Cincinnati. Cincinnati, they moved down 1 spot in the rankings last week. All of a sudden now, Cincinnati, they're likely going to move up 1 spot. I still think the committee completely shafted them by bumping them 1 spot for Iowa State. Iowa State's not the 7th best team in the country. I'm sorry. They're a good team. They're probably the best team in the Big 12. Iowa State does not deserve to be at 7, but I talked about this on my podcast. I think the reason the committee put Iowa State at 7 was because if craziness happens, and craziness is starting to happen, they have more of a realistic chance to put them in the top 4. Because all of a sudden now, Iowa State, they're going to move up to 6 in the rankings next week, and if they beat Oklahoma next week, maybe Clemson loses, Ohio State loses, they're going to have an easier chance to move into that top 4. But Cincinnati, I'm hoping that this still gives them a legitimate chance because I've been high on them all year. I do think they're a legitimate team. I think they're a legitimate threat. I think they deserve a chance of reaching the college football playoff. Now, had they not been moved to 8 and they would have stayed at 7, Cincinnati would be moving up to 6 in the rankings this upcoming weekend. Maybe the committee next week is going to put them back at 6 where they belong, but Cincinnati should move up back to 7. And again, if craziness happens in front of them, if maybe Ohio State loses, if Clemson loses that game to Notre Dame, Cincinnati, this definitely helps their chances. I still think there's a long outside chance of the Bearcats actually, getting the respect by the committee and reaching the college football playoff, but their chances are a lot better now than they were an hour ago. That's for certain. I don't have a percentage, but I think Cincinnati has a chance. So things are going to get really interesting, and things are going to come down to this Notre Dame-Clemson game, because if Clemson beats Notre Dame, which I think they most certainly will, Clemson and Notre Dame are both in. We have it right there. Alabama, they're guaranteed to be in. Ohio State, assuming they win, they're going to be in. So the 4 teams, assuming all that stuff happens, which I think it will, we got Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Ohio State, however you want to do it, those are going to be the 4 teams. But if all of a sudden now Clemson loses to Notre Dame, that's going to be the key. Clemson losing to Notre Dame, because let's face it, Ohio State, if they lose to Northwestern, oh boy, that is going to be something, which I don't think is going to happen because Northwestern I don't think is that good of a team. But Ohio State, they're going to beat Northwestern. So the playoff rankings, all the craziness that can potentially happen, it all lies now officially in that Notre Dame-Clemson game. Notre Dame wins, we're going to have chaos. Clemson wins, we're likely going to have our 4 teams. So Texas A&M, Cincinnati, I still think they're on the outside looking in. But again, they definitely have potentially a better chance than they did about an hour ago. So yeah, I just wanted to get my initial thoughts on the game, what this means for playoff implications, and what an absolute I'm still in shock over this from Florida. I've been saying this all year. I've been really high in Florida. They were my sleeper pick to be in the college football playoff at the beginning of the season. And I was really looking forward to this Florida-Alabama game because I really did think that Florida could push Alabama, give Alabama a run for their money. And now especially with Florida, it's going to be interesting to see what Florida Gators team we have next weekend, because now their playoff hopes are shot. They still have a chance to win the SEC, but I think Alabama's going to beat Florida by at least 3 touchdowns next week. I think their confidence is just shot. And how can it not be after a game like this? So yeah, guys, again, I just wanted to get a quick video sharing my thoughts on the playoff reactions. I'm probably going to be posting a video tomorrow going over my takeaways from the past weekend, going more in depth on some of the games from college football this weekend. So if there's anything you'd like to hear my thoughts on in regards to my takeaways video for tomorrow, drop a comment comment down below letting me know your thoughts on the game. Are you shocked that LSU pulled off the upset against Florida? Are you shocked that Florida choked? What do you think about the college football playoff moving forward? Who do you think the 4 teams are going to be in? Just let me know all your thoughts down below. Hit me up in the comments section. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, guys, if you enjoyed it. I post a lot of great college football content here. Make sure to smash that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, I post a ton of college football content here, so if you're a college football fan, this is definitely the place for you. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to see all of you guys right back here tomorrow with my takeaways video.